Well, cool. So let's get into some of these other questions I had. The first one was, I kind of talked about how Refuge is it's a radical company that's really seeking to transform how we welcome refugees into our communities. Um, and so I kind of wanted to hear from you. How have you navigated growth in that process, and the pull towards transformation over the past 4 to 5 years that you guys have been in business, correct?
Right.
2014, yeah.
2015. So it'll be 5 years in May. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Three things I was thinking about. So first is so simple that just that um, to remain people focused. So Walt, I don't know if
Mhm.
you know who Walt is. He's our COO, and he's the one who's been communicating with Acuity the most. In fact, when I told him I had a call
Mhm.
with you today, he's like, "Wait, why?" Like, because he's great. He's trying to keep all the, a lot of the operation stuff off of me so I can do the other things I do. And I
Okay, yeah.
no, this is okay. So it's but but he asked me in our staff meeting last week, we were going over numbers from last year and we exceeded our goals, in terms of
Mhm.
income and people that we've been able to hire and that kind of thing. And so he goes, "Did you?" But mainly he was talking about the financial goals. And
Right.
he said, "Did you ever dream that Refuge would have numbers like this?" And I was like, "I didn't dream in numbers."
Mhm.
So, which doesn't mean you shouldn't. Like I
Right.
fully embrace the kind of numbers charge that we've had. And of course, we want to be good stewards of everything we get too. So that makes numbers important. But I think if we can keep people, top of mind.
Mhm.
And I think we have, because of my second point, and I think the second thing is to remain accountable to really good people. Like, I think, let me make sure this is what yeah, I think we all across the board, like our staff, the kind of stakeholders we have in what we do, and then our board, and even the community, like learning how to listen and be accountable to them. Um, so I think being accountable to people and listening to the community and making sure that the people we are accountable to aren't just a bunch of people like us, but it's a
Mhm.
voice of voices. So that's a thing. And then I think this final thing is really important. Um, I I think that momentum is a function of privilege. Like we can move fast because, and especially the privileged can move fast because um, we have a smooth road and good tires, and so
Yeah.
sometimes it's very appropriate to move fast. Sometimes you just need to, and that's okay. But I think
Mhm.
this ability to pause and consider, and that's really linked to this thing of accountability, to really hear from other people and hear their voices, is an important thing to do. And entrepreneurial people don't tend to do that super well. I'm just saying that because I'm that
Mhm.
way. I mean, I'm a freight train and I would like to
Mhm.
be fast. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm learning that, Mark Zuckerberg said, move fast and break things. And I think, and we all go, yes, you're amazing.
Right.
But when you break things, you break people often. So,
Yeah.
and even this weekend, I spoke at a conference that they had our coffee and I just did a really short thing. But I
Mhm.
talked, it was a bunch of seminary professors. It was a very intimidating group of
Oh,
people.
wow.
But
Mhm.
one of the professors there just at our table was talking about the value of slow thinking. And slow thinking recognizes that there are issues that are that are complex enough that you have to stop, And so I
Mhm.
think if we're going to really I love that you call it radical hospitality. It just feels like hospitality to me. But if we're
Mhm.
really going to welcome people in a way that that elevates everybody and welcomes everybody, it's complex and there's a lot to think through. So that's a long answer, but I think keeping people first, accountability, and then learning the skill of pausing when necessary.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so let's see. How about number 4, that question of um, kind of the career coaching and development side of things, because that's something I think is really interesting that you do at Refuge Coffee is you put a lot into training the people that you hire and really empowering them to empower themselves in their own life. Um, and so maybe like what skills have you maybe seen that I know you guys might focus on certain things that are coffee related at first, right? But then some of it goes into more like career development and helping people figure out what they would want to do long term or study
Yeah.
and things like that.
First, I just have to say, that is the core mission of ours. We ended up using a job training curriculum that we could use
Okay.
for free, but then we eventually did write our own curriculum. And I
Mhm.
think what we realized is the way we wanted to do it was we wanted to go deep rather than wide. So our job trainings for a full year. It's very relational because you work with somebody full time for a year and something
Mhm.
happens. So we talk about dreams. We talk about our mission of welcome, and we really hammer that in. We talk about goals,
Mm.
how to set goals, because a refugee like our newest trainee, lived in a refugee camp 17 years, and he's only
Wow.
25. So it, he was just sorry for the noise. He was just
No, it's okay.
surviving, you know? So
Right.
one of the beautiful things we see happen is that after a refugee gets here and they're able to breathe and they feel safe and welcome, then they're able to begin to dream. Um,
Right.
and so our goal is to just walk them through, well, what's your next step? It'll be different for everybody. But right now, 3 of our former trainees are at Georgia State. So,
Mm.
and that's phenomenal, and one of
Yeah.
them, she is so brilliant and so amazing, but she was a few points off on her TOEFL exam for
Mm.
entry. And so a bunch of us and people in the community rallied and we got her a presidential determination, like from the president of the college of the university,
Right.
so that she could go ahead and get in because we knew how smart she was. And then
Right.
stories is based on just how to tell your story. And we go through like how to tell your 30-second, 3-minute, and 30-minute story. And we give them opportunities
Mm.
to do that at Refuge. Um,
Yeah.
and then a lot about just next steps. So how to write a resume, how to interview for college, how to, you know,
Mhm.
and then we do kind of a civics section that prepares people for the citizenship exam. So the whole it's kind of a broad smattering of
Yeah.
things.
Let's see. So I kind of wanted to hear now, like maybe more forward looking, and if there's anything that looking into 2020 that you're feeling like I'm really inspired to do this one thing, and then maybe if you have that, then how are you thinking that might happen?
For me, the dream has always been um, to employ more people, to train more people, um, to give voice to more people, so that
Mhm.
that I
Right.
would love it if that's the other thing. We don't do what we do in an echo chamber, but it's also not we're not out there like preaching about what we do. So there's this
Mhm.
middle space that we're in where just because we're encouraging people to drink coffee with each other, there's a
Mhm.
message in that. So 2020 is going to be about figuring out what it means to be two places at once,
Right.
and expanding leadership opportunities for our staff who are former refugee trainees.
Mhm.
Um, that's going to be happening. Um, we're working on making our space in Clarkston even more welcoming. So it's
Yeah.
not drastic, but it is if you think about us being able
Mhm.
to, like with the truck, our hope is to increase our refugee payroll by 35% over
Yeah.
the next year. And with another space, hopefully we'll be able to do close to that. So it really
Right.
is about hiring more people, training them, giving
Mhm.
them this opportunity to be safe and cared for. And
It's a lot. Like, the vision at Refuge Coffee, I think from this whole conversation, you can see that it's this huge impact over so many people. And I mean, I don't know, you probably couldn't count how many people have come through your doors and your training and all of that stuff, and how maybe they have impacted somebody else in their own life. And opening a second location and just continuing to see that grow. I don't know, I think it's going to be great and exciting. And speaking of the Acuity stuff, and the CFO, like, I'm excited to see how hopefully they can really partner with you guys, and even these things, how you talked about learning how to expand and um, learning how to develop the training programs and do all these things. Being good neighbors, that's what we're here for too.
Walton now, he's like so thankful to have a trustworthy person who gets this
Yeah.
big picture. Anyway, it's been really great.
Yeah, the big pictures stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Well, cool. So maybe one last thing before we go. If you have it, is there any specific wisdom, advice, or anything that you'd like to share um, with the folks who may be watching this video?
But Seth Godin said, the people at the top get hurt last.
Mhm.
And I feel like I've lived a lot of my life at the top, like not at the top fun. I'm in a world where probably I could even appear to be at the bottom by some standards, but
Mhm.
mostly, I have a lot of unearned advantage,
Mhm.
which is a good definition for privilege. So
Right. Like, me too.
yeah, and it's not something to be ashamed of, or to
Mhm.
feel guilty about, but it is something to feel a responsibility for. So I think the
Right.
thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is, um, if the people at the top get hurt last, I think what that also means is the real hurts in the world, like the hurts that are caused by injustice and the crises
Mhm.
that we all kind of want to care about, like the refugee crisis or the crisis of homelessness or whatever the issues.
Mhm.
Um, they don't. The pain of that feels like a whisper to us compared to what it
Right.
feels like to the people that experience it. And the big danger that we all probably know, there's been a lot written about it, but it is, I've seen it in my own life. The big danger is to assume I know what a person in that kind of pain needs. So
Right.
to make assumptions, and I think I mentioned it earlier, but this idea
Mhm.
of I do it all the time. It's like
Yeah.
it's shorthand for a relationship. I know what you need. I know what you're
Right.
thinking. I know what this feels like to you. Well, I probably don't. And
Mhm.
so for me it doesn't mean I say, oh, I can't help you because I don't know, but it means, oh, I'm going to lean in and get to know you and have a relationship with you so that I can know,
Right.
and I can feel it and I can have. I read the other day that an entrepreneur, well, the entrepreneurs um,
Mhm.
convert empathy into imagination. And I
Yeah.
love that idea but I want to
Mhm.
really empathize, not just with this idea I have of what the refugee crisis is, but with the real pain of it. Not that I can fully
Right.
explain it, but I I want to love a few people well enough that I know. So I think that's the challenge. And you can't pick every crisis or every issue in the world and get to know somebody who's impacted by every one of those.
Right.
There might be one or two that you can actually get to know somebody,
Right.
create an empty slot for a friendship or
Mhm.
empty time on your calendar to lean into them. I think that, I mean, obviously, giving and contributing in other ways are important. Like,
Right.
I still want to do that. But I
Mhm.
think that kind of personal, um, creating some space in my social calendar or whatever so that I can actually
Right.
meet people, so that I'm not just making assumptions is something I would challenge anybody to do.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to, explain all of this and share everything with me. There's so much value here. So I'm very excited to, get to share what we've talked about with our customers and even internal people at Acuity. And we're just very excited to see where Refuge Coffee is going.